Radhey Radhey. In my last talk, I explained on the topic of unique ways of loving God that it is a universally accepted spiritual truth that God is omnipresent. As Goswami Tulsidas ji has described in the Ramayana, Prabhu Vyapak Sarvatra Samana Prem Te Prakat Ho Hi Main Jana. Even though God is omnipresent and all-pervading, He manifests Himself with love. So, meaning that He is not confined only to temples or other holy places. One does not need to follow any rigorous spiritual discipline to attain Him, as it is only through love that He manifests Himself. Love is the only way to see Him, and there is no specific rule or regulation to love Him. Moreover, as individuals, love is an inherent, innate quality that we possess. We have not been taught or trained to love or to desire love. It is something that we naturally practice, that we naturally share with those individuals that we adore and we feel affection toward. So it is an inborn quality that we possess as individuals. And therefore, the scriptures tell us that it is very easy, it is very simple to love God. All we have to do is direct all our emotions toward Him. We do not need to worry about where we are, what time it is, or what situation we are in. And as I explained in my last talk, that there have been many devotees who have loved God in their own personal, unique, strange ways. Something that is not described in the scriptures, something that was just very naturally evolved within them, and it was expressed, or that love they expressed in the way that they practiced devotion to God in their own unique way. Nonetheless, a question is always lingering in the mind of many individuals, and the question is how to engage the mind in God. Most of us complain that the mind or our mind does not get absorbed in God. Now, initially, while it is difficult to engage the mind in God, with practice, it becomes very easy and natural. In the beginning, you need to withdraw the mind from the world again and again and attach it to God forcibly. Gradually, it will become absorbed naturally. This is something, for example, developing a bad habit like smoking. A person forces himself to become a smoker initially, thinking that smoking is a very stylish thing to do. He may wear a suit and tie and behave like a smart gentleman with a cigarette hanging from his mouth. He coughs and splutters but puffs away regardless, just to win the attention of others, thinking he is showing himself to be extraordinarily modern. Now, this man continues to smoke like this for a week, 10 days, 1 month, 10 months, 20 months, and now the same cigarette has complete hold over him. He has become a slave to the cigarettes. He cannot quit the habit even if he tries desperately. If he tries not to smoke, what happens? Obviously, he develops headaches and experiences anxiety and tension. All of this happened through repetitiveness, through practice. So in a similar manner, the consumption of alcohol is also habit forming. Ultimately, these and other such addictive habits victimize a person so badly that he feels totally helpless against them. We possess only one mind. It can be engaged either in the world or in God. Our true goal of achieving unlimited divine happiness lies only in God. So what do? The scriptures tell us, replace all our worldly desires or divert them towards God. This is the only way to rid ourselves of the desire of disease. Now, people in the world try very hard to abandon or to renounce desires. But the scriptures tell us that even if we try hard for millions and millions of years, our desires will only continue to grow endlessly. They will continue to multiply and escalate. The Bhagavatam tells us, Yat prithivyam vriyavam hiranyam pashavah striyah nalamekasya paryaptam tasmat trishnam parityajet. Bhagavatam. So the scriptures are telling us that what we have to do is withdraw the mind from the world that is full of sorrow and suffering and attach it to God, who is the embodiment of bliss. Over time and with constant practice, one will begin to experience spiritual happiness. And once they start experiencing this special bliss, the mind will naturally become absorbed in the contemplation of God to such an extent that one day such a devotee will openly challenge God, just like Saint Surdas did. What did Surdas Ji say? How did he challenge the Lord? He said, O Shyam Sundar, O Sri Krishna, you claim to be all powerful, but I will only believe you if you have the power to leave my heart. And the Lord accepted defeat. Such is the glory, such is the supremacy of love, that when it reaches such a height, when it reaches an incredible height within that devotee's heart, when their heart becomes so absorbed in the loving thoughts and the loving remembrance of God, and it's overwhelmed with love, then what happens? God is not able to resist giving his divine vision to that fortunate soul. And from that moment for all eternity, God becomes subservient to that fortunate soul. And why is this? Because God is bound by love in such a way that he cannot leave his devotee. To conclude, we should practice replacing all our worldly desires with the desire for God, the embodiment of infinite bliss. In this way, our mind will become engrossed in God. So that very experience that we seek outside of us will begin to develop within us with this practice of diverting our mind from the world to God, and we will begin to experience that inner joy, the peace, the contentment, and the satisfaction that we always seek in every and through every endeavor of our life. I'd like to add that worldly happiness is inert. In other words, it is something that we imagine. It is not based in reality. Because if it was based in reality, if it was true and real, it would continue to grow. It would continue to escalate for all eternity. But our experience tells us that what we experience in the form of joy and happiness in the world is in fact always diminishing. It is fleeting. It is always decreasing. And God's happiness, because it is a divine power, God personified, is synonymous with that infinite divine bliss that we the soul desire. It is a power. It is a reality. So when we engage our mind in that power called God through the practice, we will begin to experience true happiness and lasting happiness, which we always have sought, and we continue to search and seek that happiness through everything that we do in our life. So the key is practice. It is not something that will happen overnight. It is something that we need to develop, we need to nurture, and we need to practice regularly. And we will begin to experience more and more joy and happiness and peace in our life, within us. And whatever attractions cause us to feel unhappy and anxious and anxiety and tension and restlessness, and all of these will begin to recede. And to that extent, we will begin to experience a growing joy in our life, no matter what our situation and no matter what our circumstances may be. So I will leave you with these thoughts. Shrimat Sadguru Sarkar ki jai. Shrimat Yugal Sarkar ki jai. Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Jai Jai Shri Radhe.